Hi, Professor. Welcome to our discussion on Extraordinary Circumstances by Cynthia Cooper. Today we'll be highlighting some of the interesting themes we found in the book, as well as some other conversation starters. So, does anybody have a place where they would like to start our discussion?
Well, you seem to open it up, so I guess perhaps maybe you should take the lead.
All right, I'm happy to. One of the main themes I found that she definitely throughout the book discussed some of the differences between female and male roles within the profession. There were several instances where she pointed out events that were inappropriate. For instance, she says that in one occasion on page 80, a woman says, I told him I have red hair, you can't miss me. And he said, and I bet you've got a great body to go with it. Shocked, she was caught off guard. So I think that's just one of the examples in the first 10 chapters where she points out that there are definitely some differences between the male and the female roles within the profession.
And wasn't there somebody invited to a hotel room or something?
Yeah, I did see that. I found that a little bit shocking, but at the same time, I was wondering if maybe you guys had had any experiences where you realized that maybe the dynamics are different between the females and the males in the career.
No, I've never invited a woman in work to a hotel room. No, I've never
Yeah,
done that. No, I've never invited an employee to back to a
yeah.
hotel room. No.
I mean, I'll tell you that I've worked as an accounting intern before, and I've definitely heard comments such as these being made in an office. So I still think I haven't heard anything as assertive of that as that, but you know, I think that's definitely an interesting part of her book. Do you guys have another theme or conversation that you would like to bring up at this time?
I thought it was interesting how they kept talking about how that guy just kept buying other businesses, but there wasn't any details in the book about how this guy was able to do it. He kept running out of credit lines, but yeah, he kept buying stuff. How was he buying? I think what he was doing, I guess, was just trading stock for assets. I guess. I mean, I don't know why the book didn't talk. Maybe it wasn't trying. Maybe they were trying to avoid getting hyper technical or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that most of her book isn't going into exact detail on how all the inconsistencies were delivered. I don't know if maybe that has to do with like privacy laws or confidentiality agreements.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you can just keep buying up businesses if you have no line of credit. But
Yeah, and I did think it was kind of funny when she was talking about the audit, how somebody told her like she wasn't allowed to use internal controls. I think this is page 115. It says it aggravates him, like the guy was aggravated by her wording on her reports. I thought that was kind of interesting how
yeah,
like
I think what was he, a motel? He sold motel or he operated hotels or something?
yeah, and I think it definitely shows how like the dynamic between an internal auditor can be you can you have to be careful not to step on too many toes since it's definitely a touchy relationship.
You don't want to bite the hand that feeds you, I guess.
Exactly. Jose, do you have anything to add?
Yes, for example, on page 42, the author criticizes the churn and burden attitude and mentality of some account firm that in the spring, after having finished the client financial statement for the previous year, they expect some young staffer to leave the company. If this does not happen, the firm fire them. My question is about it. What we think of this practice and what we do to prevent it from happening at the beginning of our careers?
So I think that it's definitely not the best practice, like Brandon said, the whole biting the hand that feeds you thing is definitely a problem because you need to make sure that these internal auditors are actually doing the job. Um, but I do think that nowadays they have a lot of security measures that are taken. There's a lot of different boards personally, I don't have much experience dealing with those boards that make sure that all the work is certified, but I know that in my office, there's one person whose sole job is to be an auditor for the state. So I think the external auditors kind of back up the internal auditors in a way, because it definitely makes sure that, like, you know, if the internal auditor doesn't catch it, the external auditor might. But yeah, I think that's what I would say about that.
Okay, yes, I agree. It will occur more if we go work with taxation about, because finish the station of return to file the return, the company file some professional, so the young professional is not good.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
But audit is different because the company start to preparing everyone. Brandon, sorry by my mistake in English. I am working hard to improve my speech in English. I am not
I guess if you're,
American.
I guess numbers are universal, huh? Guess you don't.
Oh, sorry,
If you're
sorry
dealing,
sorry about
if you're
it. I am
dealing with, I guess if you're dealing with numbers, it doesn't matter what language you speak, right?
okay. Yeah, I am
Right.
trying. I am trying to do my best.
Ah, Jose, you're funny.
Thank you.
What did you guys think about how she dives kind of into her professional life at the beginning? Do you guys think that added to her book, or would you have rather she just get straight to like the point?
I mean, it was, she kind of like, wasn't there gaps or whatever? She talked about one day she married the guy or something that worked in the office, and then boom, he was gone. They were divorced and they had a kid. It was like she just you know, what happened. I don't know. I was just wondering what happened to the guy. He just was I had a picture. Then like one paragraph, I guess one chapter later, she's already remarried. So I don't know. Make it. I don't know. The book skipped around. I just thought that was kind of silly. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I could
mean,
see that.
yeah, I mean, just it skipped around, and you can get confused about the different characters and the different people. Like, I just thought it kind of skipped or whatever, but I don't know.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I think there was definitely some improvement that could have been done in just giving the audience a better idea, full picture. Um, so that's why I'm like a little bit confused if she was trying to give us her background, or like if she was trying to get straight to the point. It was not as
Yeah, I don't
specific.
know. Was it a biography? It was sort of a biography, kind of, but she was telling the history of this company, I guess. And I don't know. I guess if we read more, I guess I'm assuming it all kind of come together at some point. I imagine. I don't know.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
obviously they didn't
hopefully.
make a movie out of it, so it probably wasn't. It didn't become that successful, I imagine. Um,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. It was kind of all over the place.
Okay.
I could see.
To I think to point join together our for example professional design with personal demands is always difficult. Uh, if we have an idea on page 67, Mr. Cooper present her complaint and difficulty in reconciling professional desire with personal demands. So they write in the book. She wrote, from a career perspective, I built a strong resume, but for all my plan, they had not worked out the way I'd hoped. She she finished her marriage, so I asked for us. Have you faced difficulty like this, and how did or will do hope to overcome them? To to put together our our professional desire with our personal demands. What do you think about it?
What's the question?
How we can conciliate our professional desire with our personal demands to marry, to have a family, and
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of tough, I guess. Um, I don't know. I'm not one to talk. I'm not married, so I don't know. I haven't had to. I
I
haven't had a
should,
juggle. I have a hard enough time dealing with a dog, I guess.
okay. Brandon,
I don't know. I mean,
okay,
you have
Brandon.
to kind of.
Yeah, I just passed for this step because I am married I was married for 40 years.
40 years.
40
Oh wow.
years, I have 2 daughters, 4 American grandkids. So I spent all these steps. So I can ask for you and Gabi about it.
Well, I mean, I'm a divorce attorney for a living, so I'm probably not one to ask about marriage or.
Okay,
I
okay.
only see marriages when they fail. So obviously,
Okay,
I
yeah.
can only testify as to why marriages don't last.
Okay,
Um,
we
so,
have
I
to.
mean, please give us your insight. Why don't
uh,
marriages last?
why don't marriages last?
Yes.
I don't know. It's all sorts of reasons. Mostly, it's just I see a lot of young people, like people marry and people just change. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know how how old you
Okay.
are. I mean, people just change in life, and or people marry people that are personalities are so different. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I
Okay.
mean, I definitely kind of see that in this book. Like, it
Yeah.
seems like she does change a little bit as she keeps going through the chapters. Like, the realities of the working world can be shocking for a lot of people. Personally, I've been working part-time for a long time, and recently I started working full-time, and I feel the difference pretty big. So I can definitely say that sometimes it's very exhausting, and you have to be able to set a boundary when you leave work. Just leave it at work and not take it home. Sometimes I get out of the office and I'm blinded by numbers, and I'm like, okay, Gabby, you gotta leave all that, leave all the stuff you have to do tomorrow, just leave it at the office. So
Yeah, it's easier said than done.
yeah, 100%. I mean, as accountants, most of the time, I feel like you can do that, but I can't even imagine like in the law profession or engineering or even like being a doctor. That stuff can you can take it to heart pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the hardest part is you have to just try not to take it personally. But you know what I've realized over the years, I mean, you kind of are who you are, and so if you're a person that cares about people or cares to do a good job, you're going to be upset. And so no matter I mean, some amount of numbing I think happens over the years. Like I don't lose a case and then cry for a week. Um, but people that care always are going to care. So I mean, it's just I don't know. If you care, I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I know that like it says starting a new career, getting laid off, getting married, having a baby, buying a house. I mean, that's a lot of steps that she's going through right there. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. This day and age, that was back in the night. I think now you probably before you even think about marriage and kids, you probably should have your career established.
I 100% agree. But obviously Jose has done all this, so do you have any?
Yeah, I guess you have the opposite. You've done the opposite or something.
Well, he was
Other,
actually an electrical engineer for 35 years.
yeah. But now I am a student, a UCF accounting student. Just it.
For
I
fun or
lit-
something? This is just for fun, or
Sorry?
you're doing it just for fun, or
Self-satisfaction?
yeah, self-sat. There you go. That's a better term.
Yes, I like to study accounting. I think
You just
I
woke up one day and said, I've got nothing else to do. I want to be an accountant.
why I prefer I what do you ask? Sorry.
Well, I'm saying if you were an engineer for a long time,
Yeah.
I assume you're retired as an engineer. What is this
Yes.
just
Okay.
a leisure activity?
What happened when I moved from Brazil to here to start to stay more time with my 2 daughters and 4 grandkids. When I arrived here, I thought myself, oh, I need to study a little more. I need to do something different. So I have a long process. I study English for 2 years. After I studied in Valencia 2 years,
Yeah.
and I come to UCF 1 year ago. And I decided to change my profession because I thought, no, I need to study other things. Because in electrical engineer, I just have a lot of time. I have a master degree, MBA. I need something different. I need something. So I decided to study accounting, and I like
Yeah,
to do
I
it.
think it's admirable that you're challenging yourself, you know. Um, do you relate to Cynthia Cooper in any way?
If I what?
Do
Oh,
you relate? Do you see?
yeah, I remember when I was in Brazil, I remember that this episode about this event about WorldCon
WorldCom.
because WorldCon is owner of in that 20 years ago, it was the owner of the bigger telecommunication company in Brazil. The name was Embratel. Embratel. WorldCom was owner of Embratel. So when this event occurred in USA, is completely published by the press this event, and has a lot of change to occur, a lot of change in the telecommunication area in Brazil. Do it to her. Do it to her.
Well, I look forward to learning more about her. I
Okay,
mean,
yeah. Okay.
I think
Okay. I sorry. One one adult about it, and I put a question is between the internal and external auditing. So I prepared a question about it, and I will read for you. Okay.
okay.
Mhm. The author discuss the activity and particularity of internal and external auditing. On page 77, she argued, at first, I'm reluctant to apply for internal audit. External audit is more established because page 77, because public company have been required by law to have annual audit since the Security Exchange Act of 1934. She continued in page 78, adding, external auditor have a more focused mandate to audit a company financial statement to ensure that they are in accordance with generally accepted accounting principle. These quotes are this comment of me, these quotes are very enlightening and corroborate what we have already learned from the academic knowledge of Anderson and other books, our Anderson book, good, but you know, it's very heavy. And and the other book, and with the objectivity of Glenn Sia Review. This book is good for we complete our testing tomorrow. We need this book because it's difficult. My question, have you had any experience with internal or external auditing? If you were offered option to work in one or the other, which one would you choose and why? The internal
Personally,
is here.
yes. So personally, I would choose external just because I don't know that in internal auditing I would necessarily feel safe. But with external auditing, there's always a bunch of companies that are going to need auditing, and I think there's a lot more of a broader framework. I mean, Cynthia Cooper even says it in her book, like internal auditing doesn't have as great of a support, and it's usually financed by the company itself. So I personally would choose external. Brandon, would you like to chime in?
I would probably choose external too because you get more practical experience because you're auditing different types of industries. Whereas if you're internal, you're you're only really going to be familiar with the accounting of the particular company you're working for. If you're external, maybe one day you're auditing an engineering firm or something, so you learn a little bit about engineering. The next day you may be doing a real retail company. The next day you could be doing a law firm. So you kind of you get pretty good practical experience and you know gain a broader base of knowledge regarding different industries.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a great point. Um, Jose, do you want to answer your own question?
I would like to read something interesting. I think that let me read it because I will put a little paper in our debate, our discussion. Jean-Paul Sartre, French existentialist philosopher, taught to us.
You say a French existentialist philosopher?
Jean-Paul Sartre. Jean-Paul Sartre. He said, I am preparing my question. Okay, Brandon? I am preparing my question. Okay. Living is this. Balancing yourself between choice and consequence all the time. So we have in the crossroad. We can go to for this way or for this way. We have to choose one this or this, and all the shows has the consequence. Let me continue. When Scott Sullivan, WorldCom CFO, was asked in October 200 by Davis Meyer, his controller, what do you do with the poor results presented by WorldCom in the 2000 third quarter? This result that would have to be published soon in its financial statement. So the CFO determined change the number. Page 5, change the number, the CFO determined. So my question is, if you had this kind of experience in your career, what would you do with this extraordinary consequence, our book, and their extraordinary circumstance and their consequence?
Well, you want me to? I had a situation kind of similar like that. I worked at a law firm. I worked for somebody else, and at the end of the day, I'd have to put my time in that I worked on cases or whatever, and I was never seeing the bills that were sent out to lawyers. And so eventually, one day, I asked the law firm, manager or whatever. I said, "Can I actually see the bills? I mean, I want to." Yeah, just sort of curious. It didn't dawn on me. And then I saw the bills, and I realized they were changing my time entries and adding time to it. And I quit a couple of weeks later. I mean, selfishly because I didn't want to get questioned. Sometimes you can get questioned in court, and so it just kind of worked out that I was able to kind of do something else. But that stuff happens in probably all areas. Just got to be proactive, I imagine, and when you first start working for an employer, my mistake was the guy had a bad reputation, and I probably should have asked other people before I took the job. And so I guess I assume accounting is probably the same thing, where firms have reputations, and reputations come from something. They don't just usually come out of sometimes they're false or nonsense, but you probably should do more legwork and investigating the accounting firm you're going to work for, and just the character of the people.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's an amazing story, actually. Very noble.
Well, yeah, it wasn't that noble. I just was worried that I was going to lose my license when somebody found out. I mean, but it was the guy was doing a lot of bad stuff, and I was only there like 6 months, because that stuff will catch up to you.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I'm glad that you got out in time.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with that, but I think that kind of comes to the conclusion of our meeting. Are you guys comfortable with that?
Yes.
Is how many how many minutes we have more?
We have 3 minutes before the meeting closes
Okay.
completely.
We achieved the time required time.
Required? Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
good. So I will send